I couldn't have asked for a more perfect start. Joining me today is Satya Nadella. Satya, what a pleasure. Thank you very much. A happy new year to you. And it's so good to have you back here in India. And that's where I want to start. About India specifically. You said you're super long on India and you have 3 reasons why you believe that to be the case. But I want to understand from you, what is fueling that optimism at this point in time? And let me throw back the question that your colleague Anant Maheshwari asked. Is India going to be the data capital of the world?
No, first of all, thank you so much, Shireen, for having me, and Happy New Year to you and your viewers. It's great to be back in India, and it's very palpable, the energy, the dynamism. And to your point, there are a couple of things, right? One is, when I look at what's happening in the economy today, at the growth rates of 6-7%, it's clear that by 2030, India will go from being number 5 to maybe number 3 as a global economy. It's already a hotbed for startups. I think it's number 2 in the world in terms of startups. But the 3 data points that I sort of look at, given our vantage point, is when it comes to GitHub, and where we see all of the world's software developers, India is number 2 already. And in fact, when it comes to AI projects, interestingly enough, India is number 1. And so you can't, if you're sort of, this next phase is going to be an AI age, you have to be long on India, because already these developers, that means, are going to impact every part of the Indian society and Indian industry. The other one that I also say, Shireen, is skilling. On LinkedIn, one of the data points which sort of strikes me as just phenomenal is people taking pride in upskilling themselves in India is double the global rate. Right? All that, right? It's not about just the school you went to. It's about the skills you're picking up every day. And that's all translating ultimately into Indian growth and Indian productivity. So these are things that make me very, very optimistic about India.
So let me tie down the macro to the micro then in terms of Microsoft's strategy. You also said that you believe the cloud era is going to be a game changer as far as the India opportunity is concerned. What is that going to translate into in terms of investments, in terms of what you intend to do here out of India?
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I've grown up, in Microsoft through, I would say, 3 big shifts, right? The PC revolution, the client server, and cloud. We had some penetration of PCs in India. We had some penetration of client servers and servers. But now, when it comes to cloud, it's a complete night and day story, right? When I look at our growth rate of consumption, the thing is, we are investing our capital to ensure that cloud is available across the country. We already have 3 data center regions. We are opening a 4th. But what it means ultimately is, through Azure, every customer in India is able to do 3 things. One is, take any application of theirs. They're able to build something that's 10x, 100x even in some cases, more efficient than what they did when they were doing their own servers in their own data center. Second, it's more energy efficient. It's something like 80-90% more energy efficient to run the same application in a data center that we operate versus operating on your own. And in fact, the other thing is demand, right? If you have cycles of demand, you even hedge against that by moving to the cloud, because you're only consuming when you have demand. So I think ultimately the working capital and all forms of capital of any industry in India are going to be improved, because thanks to sort of both the world-class technology we produce, but also the local investments we are making in our own capital. So I'm very, very bullish on cloud. And then if you sort of see the next phase of the cloud is AI plus cloud, that's another place where I think every business inside of India can benefit from.
Speaking of startups, and you talked about the opportunity that the startup ecosystem presents, are we likely to see greater collaboration between Microsoft and India's startup ecosystem?
100%. So in fact, we have a program called the Founders Hub, which is being used now by 2,500 odd startups here. And we already see everybody from whether it is Lambda Test that I talked about this morning, which is an organization that's doing test automation out of India, and everyone around the world is using them, or Oyo, or many others who are already using cloud technology to be able to innovate. So I'm very, very excited about whether a startup that's starting today will automatically start on GitHub and use the GitHub tools to be more productive, or startups that are scaling not only in India but also maybe to going abroad. And we are a partner for all of them.
The last question on India before I talk to you about the rest of the world and what's going on there. The digital public good. That stack, and of course it's got a lot of interest, it's got a lot of attention from people, including from yourself. What is the most exciting aspect of that story, and how do you see it evolving in the future?
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the most tremendously unique things that's happening in India, which is that fundamental recognition that if this next stage is about digital, not only do you need private sector innovation in digital, but you also need, just like how in every other place public goods exist, roads and other infrastructure that allow the economy to flourish. Similarly, in digital, what's the moral equivalent? And India is led with the identity system, the payment infrastructure. Now that payment infrastructure is scaling into e-commerce, into rest of the financial transactions, into healthcare. Even one of the partnerships we have is with the Ministry of Electronics and Communications here around their Indian language Bhashini program, which is fantastic. It's kind of basically saying every Indian company and every Indian citizen should have access to AI models that sort of democratize language. So that means I should be able to translate from Hindi to Telugu to Tamil to Kannada or what have you without any impedance in any application, and that as a public good. And that to me is a very enlightened set of policies by the government, and also great consumption and usage by the private sector to make the Indian economy and society that much more productive.